Hello, good morning, all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry for some network issue. So I have let 5 minutes, 5, 6 minutes. Okay. Okay. Everyone clearly audible my voice.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So in last lecture we have discussed the thermal and we have seen the dimensions relation with stress and strain and derived the three constant. Okay. It's known as the elastic constant, in which we have seen the Young modulus, bulk modulus, and modulus of rigidity. Okay. So Young modulus is defined as the stress by strain, simple linear strain by linear stress by strain. Okay. Bulk modulus means stress by volumetric strain, and modulus of rigidity is related to the shear. So shear stress by shear strain. And we have also derived the relationship between these three constants. So relations between the E, K, and N means Young modulus, bulk modulus, and shear modulus. So we have derived these three equations. Here 1 by m is equal to mu, and mu is the Poisson ratio. Okay. So this mu is 1 by m, and this show the relations between the mu and k and n. So this four equation is important. Using these equations, you have to find out the unknown parameters. Okay. So let's see the problems so you can get the clear idea about it. Okay. So in this problem, a bar of a 30 diameter was subjected to a tensile load of a 54 kilonewton and measure the extension of 300 gauge length was 0.112 means one circular bar because its diameter is given. So one bar like this. Here external force is act.
સર જે લખો છે દેખાતું નથી.
Okay. Okay, now it's clearly visible pen 30 diameter. Okay, now it's visible.
Yes, sir.
યસ સર.
Here 30 diameter was subjected to a tensile load. So diameter means cross section is circular. So we have considered one circular rod which under the effect of external force, here tensile load. So we have applied the tensile 54 kilonewton. Okay, in this way. And measure the extension of 300 gauge length. So the length is given 300. And their extension is 0.112 means delta L change in length is given 0.112. Okay, and change in diameter, so delta D is given is 0.00366. Okay, so you have to calculate the Poisson ratio, means you have to calculate the mu value and also value of a three moduli, means three constant, Young modulus, bulk modulus and shear modulus. So it's known as the module. Okay. Now here we have calculated the E value, K value, and N value. Okay. So and mu also. So we know the Poisson ratio is given by the lateral strain by linear strain, and lateral strain is the change in length in lateral direction by original length in lateral directions. So here force act in these directions. So lateral direction is this. So this is the diameter. So change in the diameter by original diameter, that is the lateral strain, and change in length by original length, that is the linear strain. So the ratio is defined by the Poisson ratio. So first of all, original diameter is given, that is 13 mm, and change in the diameter is also given. So you can find out the lateral strain. Original length is given and change in length is also given. So you can find out the linear strain. So Poisson ratio is given by lateral strain, means epsilon y by epsilon x. So lateral strain by linear strain. Okay? And lateral strain is related to the diameter and linear strain is related to the length. So using these equations, you can find out the Poisson ratio mu. Now then after you have to find out E value. So E is defined by stress by strain. Okay? Stress by strain. Stress is proportional to strain, but its constant is known as the Young modulus. So stress is given defined by the force divided by the cross section area. That is the stress. So here diameter is given, so you can easily find out their cross section area. So you get the stress value, and strain, which we have already find out here, linear strain. So this value you have to put here. So you get the E value. Okay. Now based on the relations between the E and K, you have to find out the K, and relations between the E and N, you have to find out the modulus of rigidity. Okay. So let's start our problem. First of all, we have find out the Poisson ratio mu. So linear strain, change in length by original length. So change in length is given 0.112 mm and original length is 300 mm. So this is the we have said that in direction of force. Okay, this is the first value, and stress is defined by the force divided by area, and area is pi by 4 d square. Okay, so we get this is a stress value. Now we have find out this E, Young modulus E. So we have stress divided by strain, means this value divided by this value. So first of all, find out the Young modulus E. So stress by strain. So we have find out the ratio. So we get the, this is the value of E. Means first modulus we have find out. That is our answer. Okay. Now then find out the lateral strain. So the lateral strain is defined as the change in the diameter by original diameter. So change in diameter is given. Original diameter is this. So we have said that this is the epsilon y, means lateral strain. Okay. Now using the relations between the lateral strain and linear strain, we have find out the mu. Mu is 1 by m. Okay, it's also defined as the 1 by m. So it is the lateral strain by linear strain. So linear strain is which we have already find out. So the ratio is defined as the mu value, or 1 by m, or it's also defined by mu. So that is our second answer. Now using this relationship, E is equal to 2n 1 plus mu, or 1 plus 1 by m. Okay. E value is known, mu value is known. So you can easily find out this unknown n. So you have to just put the value in that equations. So you get the shear modulus, that is 77.2. That is our third answer. And now using these relations between E and K, you have to put here E value and mu value. So you get this third last answer. So you have to just use the relations between this all the constant and find out their value. Okay. Now see the next example. So here a rectangular block of 250 by 100 by 80 mm is subjected to an axial load as follows: 480 tensile, 900 tensile, 1000 compressive. Okay. E value is given 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square, and mu value is given, means Poisson ratio is given. So you have to find out change in the volume, means you have to find out delta V. What are the change in the volume after apply of these three force? Okay. And then also find out the N and K value for the material of the block, means shear modulus and bulk modulus. First of all, understand the loading conditions. So our dimension is given. This dimension is 250. This dimension is 80, and depth is 100. Okay. Now along this all these dimensions, these three forces act. This is the tensile nature. This is also the tensile, and this is the compressive. Now whenever the tensile forces act, so at that time this 250 length is increased under the effect of tensile force. Okay. So their effect is considered as a positive because their length is increased. But under the effect of this compressive load, these dimensions is decreased, means this dimension is decreased. So this compressive effect is considered as a negative. So ultimately we get the what are the increase or decrease in the dimensions, because based on that we have find out the change in the volume. Okay. So our assumption is tensile force produce the positive strain and compressive force produce the negative strain. Okay. Now first of all find out the stresses in all the directions, because here 480 force is act. So stress in these directions according to this area. So this force divided by this cross section area, and this cross section area is this 100 and 80. So according to the stress of this 480 kilonewton, 480 divided by 80 into 100. So that is the stress. Okay. Now whenever you consider this 1000, at that time you have to consider this area. So according to this area, stresses is produced, and for 900 kilonewton, you have to consider this area. Okay, this one, 250 by 100. So stress in x direction, so 480 by, here all this term is written down in the terms of meter. Okay, so 0.1 meter by 0.08 meter. So we get the stress in tensile nature. Yeah. Now sigma y is 1000, is compressive. So in these directions is sigma y, and sigma z is 900 divided by the area according to that forces. So we get the 45 into 10 raised to 6 tensile. So in these directions, that is sigma z. Okay. That means this axis is considered as a x-axis. This axis is considered as a y-axis, and this axis is considered as a z-axis. Okay. Now these three forces act simultaneously. So the effect in any one directions is due to the three forces or three stresses. Okay. So first of all, we find out the change in length in x directions, means this length. Okay. So here, the sigma x increase the length in x direction, and their increase the length is according to this strain in x directions. So stress in x direction divided by Young modulus value, that is the strain in x directions. Now this sigma y is compressive, so minus, their effect is also negative, so minus mu into sigma x, because sigma y strain in y directions is defined by Poisson ratio times the strain in x directions, and strain in z direction is also defined as the Poisson ratio times strain in x direction, means linear strain into Poisson ratio, so we get the lateral strain. Okay, so for x directions, y and z is become the lateral directions, so that's why here strain in x directions minus strain in y directions, because it's compressive, and minus strain in z directions, so minus mu is 0.25 into strain in z direction is this. Same way, if you consider the y directions, y direction stress is considered absolute, and other two direction stress strain is considered as per the Poisson ratio times, means here strain in y direction minus strain in x directions, but it is equal to mu times the strain in y directions minus mu times strain in y directions. Okay, so here strain in y direction is compressive, so that's why it's considered negative. So all this term is become negative, and we get the negative strain in y directions. And we consider the z direction strain. We have considered the z minus here epsilon x, but strain in x direction. But strain in x direction is given the Poisson ratio times strain in z directions, and minus Poisson ratio times strain in z directions is equal to the strain in y. Okay. So here all this strain in terms of that absolute directions. Whenever we consider the x directions, so all the strain write down in terms of the epsilon x. Same way using the Poisson ratio. But here strain in y direction is negative. So here we put one additional sign. Okay. So this become the positive, and we get the ultimate strain in z directions. Now according to this value of x, y and z directions, their dimension is changed. Means x directions dimensions change according to this rate, y directions dimension change according to this rate, and z directions dimension is change according to this rate. That is the change in x directions per original length. Okay, and original length is considered unit length. So this all this strain is defined in x, y and z direction. So volumetric strain is the summation of these three. So epsilon x plus y plus z. So ultimately we get this volumetric strain, and it's defined by change in the volume by original volume, and original volume is the original dimensions. So we get 32.5 into 10 raised to 6, and this is the strain V, volumetric strain, and it is 32.5 into 10 raised to 6 divided by E. So this is the L. Okay. So ultimately we get the 325 mm cube increase. Now once you find out the volumetric strain, mu value is given and E value is given. So using these relations, you have to find out the N. So you have to just put the value in that equations, relations between the Young modulus and shear modulus. So you get the shear modulus is 80 giganewton per meter square. And using the relations between the E and K, you have to find out the So in that way, you have to solve all these equations, uh, uh, all this problem, which are only based on these equations. You have to just put the value of that equations, so you get the answer. Okay? So this all this thing is about the temperature, stress, and strain. Okay. So here our temperature, stress, and strain is completed. Okay. This topic for thermal stress and elastic constant. Okay. Now we have started the new topic, is the shear stress in beam. So first of all, we have understand the shear force. Can I so here and value which we have already find in a beam at a different section in the previous topic. If any type of beam is given to you like this and number of forces is act, so if you have to find out the shear force value at this section, so you have to consider just left side unbalanced forces or from the right side unbalanced forces. That is the actual the shear force at that section. So based on that shear force, if you consider the cross section area, so according to that area, there are the stresses there. Okay. So when we know the beam is straight a pure bending, the only stress in the beam is due to the bending moment. But in the practical case, beam carry the load which produce both the bending moment and shear force. Means for any beams, if any loading is there, so that produce the bending moment as well as the shear force, which we have seen in this diagram. There are some particular value of shear force and as well as the value of some bending moment. So in this case, both the normal and shear stress are produced in the beam, and we will discuss the shear stress in beam and their determinations. Okay. So if we consider this is the shear force value at that particular sections. So if we consider this section area, so this force is parallel to this, so it's known as the shear stress. So force divided by this area, so we get the shear stress at that section. So shear force is that any cross section of a beam will set up a shear stress on a transverse sections. So this known as the transverse sections where our shear force is act. And according to that area, the shear stress is produced. But due to the shear stress in transverse sections, there will be a complementary shear stress of equivalent intensity and longitudinal plane parallel to this section. So this known as the complementary shear stress. And this shear stress is produced to this neutral axis in order to the balance of each others. Okay? So this is known as the complementary shear stress in longitudinal sections. So this is the longitudinal section. This way, there are complementary shear stress is produced, and this is the transverse sections where our shear stress is produced due to the shear force. So let's consider any section of a beam AB. This one. This is section AB. There are bending moment and shear force be M and S respectively. Means at a section of AB in this particular beam, the bending moment value is M and shear force value is S. Now consider another section CD here at some particular distance at a dx from AB where our bending moment is just a change of M plus dm and shear force also change from S to S plus ds, means small changes in the shear force and bending moment. Okay. At another section CD. Now we see that, so at section AB the moment is M and at section CD the moment is M plus dm. Okay. Now the stress intensity is due to this bending moment is given by these equations. You have to right now remember these equations. in the bending stress topic, we have derived these equations, okay, which show the relations between the bending stress and bending moment. But right now you have to consider these equations. The bending stress is given by m by I into y. Okay. Here y is this depth. This one. Okay. So intensity of stress on the section AB due to the bending moment m is defined by m by I. I is the moment of inertia of that section. Okay. Into y. And the intensity of stress at section CD is defined as stress is also in change F plus df. So m plus dm by I into y, because y is constant and moment of inertia is constant of that section, because cross section is uniform throughout the length. So only change in the moment, and according to the change in the moment, stress is changed. Okay. So these two stress value at a section AB and section CD. So we have defined this stress value here. This is the stress at AB and this is the stress at CD. Now consider the part of the beam above the level EF. So we have considered one level of EF here, face level. And above portions of that level is considered between the section AB and CD. So consider any elementary strip PQ. So this PQ strip is considered whichever distance y from the neutral axis, and that small area is dA. Okay. Now we already defined that the stress value at section AB is given by these equations. F is m by I into y. Okay. So at a point P, means at a section AB, this section, stress into this small area dA, it's the defined as the force here. So force at P is stress into small area of the strip. So we get the forces, and force at Q. So here force is the small area dA into stress at the level of CD. So the stress into area, it's defined as the force at Q. So we have get these forces. Okay. So we get this value. Now the difference between these two forces, this forces value is act as a P here, P point, and here Q point. So we have considered this small strip. So here force is m by I into y into dA in this direction, and the opposite and Q point, the force is this. So the total unbalanced force is here, which is act in these directions. The unbalanced force is parallel to this plane. So total unbalanced force above the level EF is this force at Q minus force at K. So we get this value dm by I into y into dA. But if we find out for the total force, unbalanced forces for the whole area above the EF level, so this difference is only for a small strip, okay, PQ. But if we find out for this H area above the EF level, so we have summation of all the unbalanced forces above the level EF. So there's summations. So dm by I is constant because change in the moment and the moment of inertia is constant. Only the change is area and their distance from neutral axis. So y into dA. dA is the area and y is the distance from neutral axis. So area and perpendicular distance, that is the first moment of area, and is defined by A into y bar. Okay. So dm by I into A into y bar. That is the total unbalanced forces above the EF level. Now this whole the section above the EF level means this is our EF level, and we have considered above the whole section. Okay. So total unbalanced force is this dm by I A into y bar. the horizontal section of a beam at the level EF must offer a shear resistance. Means whatever the unbalanced force is in this, that is act here. Okay. So in the previous slide, we have seen that here, if this is the complementary stress this force produced, so according to that shear force at that section. So according to that shear force, there are complementary shear stress is produced in longitudinal directions. That means this, if we find out this longitudinal force, so we can find out the shear stress at a transverse sections. So same way here, we have find out this longitudinal forces, shear forces, is known as the complementary shear force. Okay, so we can easily find out the shear stress at that transverse section. So now this total unbalanced force here, so we have considered this area for finding out the shear stress. So this total unbalanced force is this dm by I into A into y bar, and total cross section area is known as the shear area. So unbalanced force divided by total shear area is the shear stress. So area is width is B and their length is dx, because we have considered the section AB and CD at a dx distance. So B into dx, that is the shear area. So dm by I A into y bar divided by dx into B. Okay. So dm by dx is known as the shear force, because we have seen the relations between the shear force and bending moment. So slope in the bending moment diagram is given by the shear force. So dm by dx is the S. Okay. So ultimately the equation of shear stress is S A y bar into I into B. That is the equation of shear stress at any section. Here S is the shear force value, A is the area above any section where we want to calculate the shear stress. Okay. Y bar is the centroid of that area to neutral axis distance. I is the moment of inertia of that section, and B is the width of that section, this one. Okay. So now we see if any parabolic cross section is there of any beam like this. Okay. Here support condition is this. If you act any extra okay, and y bar is the centroid of that area to the neutral axis. This distance is y bar, okay, which you already defined here. So centroid of that area to neutral axis distance is y bar. I is the moment of inertia of whole section, okay, and B is the width of that section. So here particular width is this. Okay, if we consider any section here, So our width is become this B. We consider section here bottom portions. So width is decreased and it's become this width. Okay. So at the according to the level of that section, width is different. So if you have to find out the shear stress here, so according to that width is considered. Yeah. So all this term is defined this value, and then after you get the shear stress value here. Suppose here shear stress value is 0 because area above that section is 0. So we get the shear stress distribution like this. At a neutral axis, shear stress is maximum. At a top, shear stress is 0. At a bottom, shear stress is 0. Okay. Now how we apply these equations, we have see here. First of all, you have to remember the equation of shear stress. So is given by, sorry. So S A y bar divided by I into B. That is the equation of shear stress. So here shear stress is defined by S A into y bar divided by B into I. Okay. Now consider the circular section. So this is our neutral axis. Okay. If we consider the top portion, this one, so area above this section is 0 because no any area above the top point. So in that equations here A value is become 0. If A value is 0, then shear stress value is 0. So here shear stress is 0. Now if you consider any intermediate level here, okay, so we have considered the area above that section. So area above that section is this. Okay, so we have calculated this area, and this area is put here A. Now y bar is the centroid of that area to neutral axis distance. So this is your y bar, and this y bar value is put here. Okay. B is the width of that section. So at that particular section, width is this. So this B value is put here, and I is the moment of inertia of that section, whole section. Okay. So it's considered pi by 64 d raised to 4. This value is put here. So in that way, you have to put all this value and find out the shear stress intensity at that section here, tau. Okay. Now, if you want to find out the shear stress at the neutral axis, so again we have used the shear stress equation S A y bar divided by I into B. Okay. So consider the section at a neutral axis here. Now we have considered the area above the neutral axis. So initially this H area is there. Now area is increased and area up to the neutral axis. Okay, this area. That means from the previous sections, area is increased. If A value is increased, then shear stress value is also increased. Because here shear force value is constant and area is increased. So according to the area, shear stress is also increased. Y bar is related to the area. Okay. Here the centroid of that sections to the neutral axis distance, that is your y bar. I is the again same pi by 64 d raised to 4 because that's considered for whole section, and B is increase. Means initially the B is this, but here now B is become the diameter of that section because we have considered at the neutral axis. But the increasing the intensity of B is comparatively lesser than increasing the rate of area. So shear stress is increased the higher rate with related to the area. So shear stress at a neutral axis is maximum. Okay. So that's why we get the variation in the shear stress intensity is like this. So in the same way, we have also defined the shear stress variations with all the sections we have discussed in the next lecture. Okay. But you have to remember these equations for finding out the shear stress, that is the SAY bar divided by I into B. Okay. So today we have stopped here. From the next lecture, we will see the problems related to the shear stress. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
As square is greater than 0 and r is less than 0, then it is a point of maximum, means your function is maximum. If it is less than 0, then it is a saddle point, and if you are getting equals to 0, then it requires further investigation, right? So now we take some example.
Sir,
Yes.